Everyone, Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and I have not gone live yet. I know that there were people wondering if I was going to go live or not. These storms have made a statement across our area, and we had a microburst in Corsicana that I've gotten a lot of information about that really caught some people by surprise. It's tough to cover things like that because by the time I know about it, it's usually over. And so if I go live and tell you about it, I'm telling you about something that's already happened, and the best course of action I can do is to put out those periodic updates on Facebook and those kind of things to make sure that you're aware of what's happening in the moments that follow that. And I want to talk right now, though, about the flooding concerns I have for eastern Ellis County and then for Navarro County. If I can get the, that's not what I wanted you to do. This mouse has been going out on me, so be patient with the technology. We have all of this rain in eastern Ellis County, and this line, there hasn't been a lot of movement in these storms tonight, but this line has been moving eastward towards the I-45 corridor and is now impacting Ennis. In fact, I was going through the work of getting this live stream going, and I'm working basically out of a dual purpose office slash studio. So it's kind of tough sometimes to convert it from one to the other quickly. But we do have this line, and over the course of me getting this prepared, this line has moved eastward. And Ennis, which has had enough rain already this evening, is getting more rain now. This line moving through, and this will be moving eastward further, and I am concerned at least about northeastern Navarro County, if not possibly the Corsicana area, if this can continue kind of a southeastern push. Let me put this into motion, and you can see what I'm talking about. Obviously, the Ennis area, you can just see that shower staying there, and I've had multiple people talk about the fact that the storm in Ennis has just been parked there, and it is true. Now we have all of this additional rain that's moving in, and this is all heavy rain. This is rain that's coming down quickly. It's coming down in loads, and so when it moves into this area, I am concerned about flooding, and you can see that there is a little bit of a southeasterly impression to this, so I am concerned about Rice to Corsicana over to the Currens area as this continues eastward, and we possibly look at an exacerbation of more of the flooding problems we've had before. So this is going to continue to move on to the east. We've not had any severe warnings. The only severe warning we had was in Dallas County. It almost exclusively included Irving. Matt and I were joking about the fact that it was so specific an area, but we have not had any warnings. We've had a flood advisory for Navarro County earlier this evening, but I am watching this to see if, number one, we could have a flood advisory for Ellis County come out. I wouldn't be surprised, and then I won't be surprised again if flood issues become prevalent once again for northern Corsicana, northern Navarro County there. Again, from about Rice to Corsicana over to Currens, and really all of that northeastern quadrant of Navarro County. When we look across the area here, there's really not much else going on. We had all the storms in Navarro County, the one that produced that microburst earlier with the small hail and the very gusty winds, and then all of that kind of shifted northward into Ellis County. Johnson County has been largely left out here. You can see an outflow boundary, one of many we've seen tonight that continues to move on to the east. And then Hill County has had some spotty storms, but hasn't really been a whole lot of activity there. It's mostly been on the east side of our area. So that's what we're watching right now. Again, it's moving out of Waxahachie right now, still impacting parts of Red Oak and Ferris down to Palmer to Ennis, down to Bardwell, Avalon there. But again, you can see that it's mostly eastward moving, but I am concerned about some of this moving a little bit far south enough to possibly impact Navarro County a little bit later tonight. Again, no warnings, no watches going on right now. The severe weather is not really a part of this equation. Tomorrow, there is a marginal risk of severe weather. We'll talk about that tomorrow, and I'm waiting to see if the National Severe Storms Laboratory, well, the Storms Prediction Center, rather, is going to stick with that. I'm not entirely sure that that's warranted for our area tomorrow, but we'll continue to watch that. But I will also say that going forward, and I am missing one thing I got to put on here, going forward, Saturday night appears to be our next real chance of seeing severe weather in our area. We'll be watching a an outflow boundary off to our west produce storms that, a dry line rather, outflow boundaries on the brain, right? A dry line out to the west produce storms that could move in, could be severe in our area. So Saturday night will be another event. Tonight it's all about the flooding concerns. That's why I went live, because the thing is that flooding, believe it or not, is the most underestimated and ignored form of severe weather, and that can often lead to flooding being the most dangerous because people just don't take it seriously. The phrase turn around, don't drown, we hear it all the time. Unfortunately, we usually drown it out. No dad joke or pun intended there, but we usually tend to kind of push that out of our minds. We love our trucks in Texas. I know there's plenty of trucks in Ennis, and I'm sure plenty of trucks with four-wheel drive are thinking, I can get through that, and then may not actually make it through. So you have to consider all of this when you are looking at a storm like this, where we have so much rain, and I'm sure the comments are raving about this. I know that in the radar only stream, which is exclusive to the YouTube channel, and again, I've had some people ask me about that. Why am I not seeing the radar stream? Oh, the camera is. let me figure that out really fast. This camera kind of has a mind of its own. I joke that it's almost. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I joke that it's almost a droid. Okay, yeah, so it's one of these things, I joke that it's like a droid or Jarvis, because when I turn it on, it folds, and then I turn it on and it like wakes up. It's the weirdest thing. It's freaky at first. But, okay, now you can see me again, and trust me, you're not losing your sight. It's the camera that has decided to go rogue on me. But we're watching all of this rain, and the flooding is the main concern here. Now, the good news is that it looks like that cell is moving eastward, or moving westward, actually. This is moving eastward. Maybe there's some dry air behind that could influence this a little bit. I don't think so, though. But if there is any good news to be had, it's for western Ellis County, because from Midlothian to Waxahachie to Italy, Milford, on to Maypearl, all of this is past you, and there's really not any other rain behind this, but there's plenty of rain for eastern Ellis County, going to be moving into northeastern Navarro County here over the next several minutes. The other good news is the sun is down. It is dark outside. So when the sun is down, that takes away a lot of the equation, that a lot of the warmth that allows these storms to continue to be so strong. So that's one of the things that, one of the factors that we're going to be watching here is if we can get this activity to weaken and get these showers and thunderstorms to dissipate before they create too much of a flooding concern across our area. So as I've said, no warnings right now, no watches are in effect, no severe weather per se at this point. The severe weather I'm concerned about is the possibility of flooding in this area, because I do think that not only have you had plenty of rain in these areas, and I've heard plenty of feedback on that, but it is just the simple matter of fact that there is more rain moving in, more heavy rain moving in, where it really is not needed across this area. We'll talk briefly about Corsicana here, and again, and I know there's one specific viewer that's waiting for this topic, but we did have quite a storm in Corsicana earlier tonight, produce right around 5:30 or so, 5:15, 5:30, somewhere in there, maybe about 5:20, produce a microburst, downburst or microburst. They're similar. Sometimes it's just the size or the coverage area that matters. A sudden downburst of wind, which is where the air, the energy, the wind moves downward out of the storm, and it's like pouring water out of a bucket. It hits the ground and it spreads out in all directions. And these can be very strong winds, and it happens briefly. You'll just get this absolute monsoon of rain and hail and very, very strong winds, and it happens very fast and sudden, and then it's over. And usually that leads to the storm weakening. So we've seen that, and again, by the time we knew that happened, it was at least mostly or completely over. The storm was weakening, and by that time it was kind of hard for me to cover it. But those are hard, those are those features that are hard to catch. The other thing is that on a day like today, yeah, you have these storms that pop up from place to place, hard to tell where they're going to go. It's rare that they persist like this, which is why earlier in the night I talked about the issues of possible flooding in Navarro County. There was the flood advisory issued there by the National Weather Service, and then now I'm sounding the alarm about possible flooding in the Ennis area, and then from Rice down to Corsicana over to Currens, depending again on how far east and south all of this can actually make it. So a lot of this activity, it's going to depend on where it can go. I saw a light flicker. This better not happen again. I am in no mood for a power outage. Okay, this is just the AC coming on. So all of this activity, as this continues to push eastward, we will continue to be worried about flooding in these areas. Let me get back in these comments because I know there's a lot of conversation going on, and yeah, I see the I see the response there. Let me also say just a couple of housekeeping items that I have to mention here, that the things that I'm terrible about remembering. I want to run through them quickly. Number one, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure to go check out the YouTube stream. The YouTube video quality is much, much better than Facebook. Facebook, I always will be posting those periodic updates. YouTube doesn't really have an effective platform for that yet, but those periodic, every 10, 15-minute updates on Facebook are necessary. But when it comes to the videos, whether it's the most weekdays when I do the daily forecast updates in the mornings or sometimes early afternoon, but these live streams, those kind of things, all of that is better served on YouTube. That allows us to put our best foot forward, and YouTube is the best place to watch all of that content. In addition, you get the notifications from YouTube as well. When this live stream goes live, when the radar only stream goes live, or when the update videos are posted. So just keep that in mind going forward, that you do have the option of following that YouTube channel. And trust me, it is a great tool. The other thing too is that there are ways you can support this stream. This is something that I've never really been good at. Is I don't like, hawking this stuff. But again, it's one of those things that content creators are doing, and we're getting into that season where things slow down for weather content creators, and a lot of weather content creators are starting to hype things up. Oh God, there's going to be a hurricane. Hey, I see tornadoes in the 10-day forecast. All these crazy, nonsensical things. I'm simply going to tell you, here's how you can support the channel. I'm going to continue to make new content. Summer is kind of my research and development period. So over the summer, I'll be looking at new content possibly to create. You can also sponsor the page as well if you're interested in sponsoring South Metro Weather. Be sure to send a message or send an email to me, kevin@southmetroweather.com. We've got spots open, and I've been reaching out to some of you, some of the folks that I'd love to partner with, but there are ways that you can support this stream. And yes, Saddle Tramp in the YouTube stream, yes, hit the like button, the share button, comment, all of that fun stuff, right? Just do all the things that you're supposed to do, the things that I'm terrible at reminding you to do. So that's all of my generic content creator housekeeping stuff to talk about. As I mentioned before, and we might have some new people in the stream here, this storm in the Ennis area is not particularly severe, but I'm concerned about flooding. Because from Ennis down to Rice to Corsicana, we've had a lot of rain this evening. A lot of rain. And this continues to move off to the east. And for the moment, we are seeing some signs of weakening here. I'm definitely not seeing strengthening. As I mentioned, the sun is down. It's dark now. You're losing daytime heating. That's one of the biggest factors that fuels these storms, is that daytime heat. So as we're losing that now, that storm is losing a big part of the equation that keeps it going. And the other good news is we're seeing this kind of weaken from south to north, so I'm less concerned about Navarro County now, but I am still concerned about the Ennis area. I don't see anything new from the National Weather Service advising of this, but from Ferris down to Palmer to Ennis down towards Bardwell there, we do still have plenty of rain falling. These are areas that have seen plenty of rain already tonight, especially Ennis. Ennis and the eastern side of Ennis especially has had a lot of rain already. So if you are in a flood-prone area and you are under one of these storms, you should safely take precautions because there will be more rain falling over the next several minutes. It's 8:43 right now, and again, the sun is mostly down at this point. We're under cloud cover, so there may be a little bit more sun going on, but daytime heating is quickly withering away, and this is an area that's already been rain cooled as well, so that's the nice part about it too. So, but as you see this, it's weakening from south to north, and I wouldn't be surprised if the reason we're seeing the weakening across Navarro County first is because, yes, we have seen more activity over Navarro County. All of this air has been worked over, and what I mean by that is we've had storms go through, and when you have unstable air and then storms occur, it kind of stabilizes the air there. It kind of uses up that instability, uses up that storm food, as I like to call it, cools things down, cooler sinking air, that kind of replaces that unstable air you had before, and then you basically have a more stable air mass where it's less likely to have storms increase in strength. So that's what we have over Corsicana and over Navarro County right now. That's the good news there. But again, we do have more opportunities to see storm development across this area, and we will continue to see opportunities as this moves eastward. Not quite as much southward as we were seeing, but the Ennis area I do want to pay special attention to, and if you're in a different part of Ellis County and you're not hearing your town mentioned, no news is good news. I always say that. People say, well, you know, what about Waxahachie? What about Midlothian? What about in other counties? What about Cleburne? What about Hillsborough? What about Whitney? What about Rio Vista? What about Burleson? What about Itasca? What about, you know, Hubbard? All these different places. Why are we not talking about all these different communities? Well, it's because nothing's happening there. So that is a good sign. I mean, we can go from county to county here. As we talked about, not much happening in Navarro County right now. We are seeing this activity weakening. The rain that was in Blooming Grove down to Dawson, that is kind of evaporating there, kind of drying up, which is a great thing. We'll talk about Hubbard. We'll talk about Hill County. This outflow boundary here definitely seems to be falling apart, so it didn't even quite make it to Blum there. And then up to Johnson County here, not much happening there. That outflow boundary was moving through, really nothing to be discussed there. All of it is in Ellis County, and yes, of course, I was covering exclusively Ellis County before we expanded to South Metro Weather, covered the other 3 counties as well. So if you want to call this nostalgic, sure, we'll take that. But plenty of rain across eastern Ellis County right now. A little bit of rain persisting right around the Italy area here. So we have just little bits of energy that are left right back over towards Midlothian. Might be some light rain there, back towards the Red Oak area possibly. So there's a little bit of leftover energy still moving through, but definitely not the kind of rain that we're seeing across the Ennis area, across the I-45 corridor right now. Okay, so, and David, yeah, the lightning messing with the internet. There has been plenty of lightning today. And I know that there are people who will say, and my friend Evan Andrews was discussing this the other day, they'll say, the lightning is really bad. Isn't this a severe storm? The thing is that severe weather is a category. It's not a description so much. There are criteria that go into describing what is a severe storm. It means winds in excess of 58 miles per hour, and it means hail an inch or more in diameter. So you have basically quarter or larger sized hail, 60 plus mile per hour winds. That is your category, or your criteria rather, of a severe thunderstorm. That's when you get a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, in Corsicana, we probably saw some of those conditions earlier tonight with that microburst that went through that area. But the thing is, that happens so quickly, and in such a small area, in such a short amount of time, it's hard to warn that because it's not a persistent storm attribute. It's not a persistent storm feature that kind of lingers there, and it's not something that is warned like others. It's not like a tornado where it's going to be on the ground for a while, it's been developing for a while. It's not like a supercell thunderstorm that has large hail over a long area. So that's just kind of a quick primer on that. And trust me, I get it. Microbursts are terrifying because nothing's going on and all of a sudden the sky is falling. they're unnerving. I don't doubt that. And I've talked to someone earlier tonight about the fact that I had storm anxiety as a kid. It was debilitating. That's my origin story, folks. I started, and it's a similar story with a lot of different meteorologists and storm chasers and all these different people. We overcame our fear of this by learning about it, and we've now been able to use it to thrill seek in the case of storm chasers, go directly in the face of our fears, or use it to inform, educate, and prepare folks like you. So, but what we're talking about here is, okay, Marcia Green now saying that, let's see, in about half an hour or so, okay, so, and you're saying 9:45 approximately, I'm guessing you mean 8:45, but so in about half an hour, you're looking at about a half an inch of rain. Marcia, is that correct? Am I reading that right? Won't go in the lightning to get, you don't you don't want to mess with lightning. If there's any form of weather, and I tell people this all the time, if there's any form of weather that I do not play with, that I don't play around with, that I don't have any appetite to mess with, it is definitely lightning. Because a tornado, the good news is that we are getting better at predicting tornadoes and being able to tell when those are happening or when those are going to happen, because we can tell when rotation is coming together. We can see the outflow and the inflow. There are different signs we have of developing rotation. Lightning gives us that long. That's it. We have no time to predict. We can tell you that lightning is possible in a storm, and it can strike any place. There's no way to predict where, when lightning will strike and how many times. It can strike the same place multiple times. It can, and sometimes it will. So yeah, don't play with the lightning right now, because that is definitely not something that you want to do. And as we keep watching this, we are seeing this, again, from south to north, kind of just withering away. So that's great news for the community of Ennis. That will be great news up the I-45 corridor here as this continues to die away and wither up. Now, what I will say is that even though this is drying up, you see how much lightning is in this storm. A cloud doesn't necessarily have to be raining to the surface to create lightning. In fact, I posted that graphic the other day that showed that there is still a significant danger, and therefore it's a combination of a significant danger of lightning with a loss of concern for lightning once a storm passes, that there is a decent number of lightning injuries and deaths that occur on the backside of a storm because people have not given it enough time to get out of the way before they get out there and start playing around in it. So it's just a matter of fact that when a storm dissipates or leaves, give it time, give it a while, give it some room, some breathing room before you go outside and start doing whatever you need to do. One of the things I had to do before starting this live stream is get the puppies in. We've still got these puppies out here running around the backyard, right? So we needed to make sure they came in. So we got them in, and then I was watching all of this. And one thing I'll say, the last thing I'll say about live streams is that I try to hold those exclusively to severe weather. And what I mean by that is warned severe weather, right? People will say, this is a really bad storm. Well, I try to hold it just to severe weather, because if I went live all the time, you would eventually say, oh, he's live again. He's talking about weather again. But we don't need to take it seriously. It's kind of like breaking into the Cowboys game. If I break into a Cowboy game, it better be good. And that's kind of the perception that I've heard. Now, this is not just me. I've had feedback. People tell me that they will be desensitized to the live coverage if, in fact, they do find out that there was no reason for it. And I say no reason for it because some of you would appreciate it. But there are a lot of people that are saying, if there's no dangerous weather, why are you live? Why are you interrupting my life, right, to grab my attention? Now, I feel like I hear a knock at the door here. No, maybe not. Let me check on that, make sure I'm not missing out on something. Let me just see here. Okay, I just want to check on that, make sure things around the house are great. Great, yeah. The thunder is definitely loud out there. I mean, and it was the other night. I felt like I was dodging lightning strikes because we were at Walmart the other night, and a storm blew up right on top of us, and we could smell. I'm pretty sure we could smell the ozone from a past lightning strike in the parking lot. Not fun at all. Just, that's just something that we have to kind of deal with in this area. So there is plenty of lightning here all through this storm. So we really do need to be paying attention to the fact that there is plenty of lightning out there. Oh, by the way, lightning can strike 30 miles outside of a storm. So it is something that has to be taken very, 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 very seriously. I keep hearing... I felt like I kept hearing noises there. I just want to make sure that the kids are okay and that I'm not not missing something. I'm in dad mode. That's just kind of what happens. But we'll continue to watch this over the next several minutes. And again, if you are in a flood-prone area, it's a matter of fact too, and you still see rain developing behind here. So even though the heaviest of the rain is kind of dissipating, we're not really seeing the intensity that we were. You still have rain here. So there will still be some rain moving through. So the flood problem is not completely alleviated, but it's not going to be as intense as originally I was concerned it might be. So as we watch this, we are looking at really the most of the heavy rain from Palmer up to Ferris and on north from there. So the Ennis area is still getting rain. It's more of a steady rain at this point. The heavier rain has slowed, but we are still seeing conditions where we could be looking at flooding concerns. If not improving, they're not necessarily getting worse so much, but they're not being allowed to improve much over the next few minutes. So it's just one of those things that we're having to watch. Clay, you're asking, should I take cover? It's not a take cover issue right now. It's more of if you're in a flood-prone area under this heavy rain right now and you've had flooding issues earlier in the evening, then you want to safely take precautions. And you know your own home, you know what that means, but just one of those things that we need to absolutely pay attention to that. Yeah, I'm hearing that some are loving the rain. Here's the thing. We have been in pretty good shape up to this point of avoiding the... we've been pretty good at avoiding the drought conditions so far. If you looked at the maps that have come out, and we'll get a new one on Thursday, that has actually shown that flood conditions, or drought conditions rather, have improved greatly over our area. So we're actually in pretty good shape right now, and the more rain we get between now and whenever summer stops the faucet, we will be happy for that. We will enjoy that. Now, what we want to avoid is too much all at once, and that's what I was concerned about with all of this rain coming through and causing, number one, the issues we had earlier tonight. And again, you can see that rain just sitting there in Ennis. And in fact, if we take this loop a little bit further back, see if we can add some more frames here. You can see that it just sits there over Ennis, and then all of this, you can see all of this rain develop and just move that way. So that's what I was concerned about, is the fact that not only was Ennis getting plenty of rain, you had more on the way. And here we can still kind of see more rain developing farther north of Waxahachie here. So now we're really probably looking at more of a flood condition between Waxahachie and Palmer up to Ferris, that area. So that's one of the concerns that we've had, is how late after sunset was this going to be able to continue? And I'm still hearing thunder at this point. I mean, I can look out the window, I can still see lightning out there. So for those that may just be tuning in now, or may have just tuned in, or may be waiting for an update, let me check messages that are coming in. Okay, so All right, I was just watching a message that came through. So, good news for Ennis. The heavy rain, at least, is alleviating. Not quite so much the case for north of there. Well, the Ferris area, Ferris proper, things are clearing out. You can see some drier air moving in from the northwest, and that might be, we'll actually kind of broaden this out a little bit. That might be an outflow boundary there. Yeah, it looks like it was. Looks like maybe that's outflow from the Dallas County storms starting to push this activity to the more to the southeast here. So again, we'll have to wait and see. There's kind of a battle going on between some drier air that's starting to move through and really the persistence of these storms. So we'll watch this, but I just want the prevailing message here to be that we do need to be concerned about the possibility of flooding in eastern Ellis County, because we've had these persistent showers over the last several hours, and it's just not a good situation, really, from about Palmer and Ennis southward. The good news is, again, there's not really been that heavy a rain in that area. Let me kind of orient myself here, and let me take a look at these messages. We've had some comments come in that I want to make sure we look at. The magic dome over Rice. Well, that's just your luck really working for you. Going back here, just saying that there's rain here and there. Okay, yeah. So. Right. So basically just the same story everywhere. You know, we're seeing some of the concerns for lightning and thunder, and that's going to continue probably as long as this is in the area. It'll take a little while before all the lightning and thunder. I'm hearing less thunder now, but we are definitely hearing it's subsiding just a little bit, and I'm getting more messages here. Okay, so not really looking at any kind of severe weather in terms of damaging winds, hail, that kind of thing right now. Flooding is really the remaining issue at this point. And now we're seeing this activity shift to where it is starting to move more southeastward. So if this holds together, again, sunshine has gone down, daytime heating is lowering. We are getting cooler ever so slowly. So we could see this weakening and generally continuing to weaken. You can see that a lot of this has dissipated in the southern part of the county, but we do have pockets of heavier rain that will be moving southeastward. So we will have to pay attention to that closely. And I'm wondering too if we can go ahead and pull up. I'm going to try to pull up some rain amount maps here. Okay. So, and you can already see this is showing you, and we'll go ahead and just pause this. This is showing you over the past 6 hours. So really just southwest of Rice, northwest of Corsicana, is really where the heaviest rain accumulation has been. Also north of Currens there. So to the north of the Currens area, we had a pretty strong storm there that was really persistent. So that's another area where we've had plenty of rain over the past 6 hours. And then, yes, in the Ennis area, there's been pretty decent rain. There's been a decent rain from Waxahachie up towards Midlothian, but not the kind of concentration we've seen from Ennis towards Rice, and again, north of Currens there. So these are the areas where we've had most of the rain over the past several minutes, and it's going to, again, it's going to possibly get at least a little bit worse over the next several minutes. We've got heavy rain that just started here at the studio. We're just on the northeast side of Waxahachie there, so that's where we're at now. And so heavy rain has returned here. Definitely heavy rain there outside of the studio right now. and continuing again over towards Palmer, over towards Bristol, and then up into the far southeastern corner of Dallas County. And then, yeah, just to comment, lightning, thunder, and rain in Ennis. Yes, so unfortunately, it does look like now that we've had this outflow boundary shift things again to the southeast, does look like Ennis could have a pocket of heavier rain. And there goes the thunder. So things are ramping up again in this area. And this pocket of heavy rain, I am concerned about this moving through. The good news is this does appear, if we put this back into motion, this does appear to have a pretty good push behind it. Oh, I hear somebody out the door here.
Jensen.
Oh, kids. They make the noises they want, right? So we do have storms ramping up here once again. And those will be moving towards the Ennis area. Again, could exacerbate those flooding issues and make that worse. So not the best situation right now if you are in the Ennis area. So you're not out of the woods at this point. We were hoping maybe that this weakening convection here would maybe make a better situation, but it's going to continue to move on to the southeast, and it will probably be moving into the Ennis area. I would have a hard time believing that this will weaken. You can actually see it intensifies here. Not very often we see this activity intensify as we get into, the evening hours after sunset. Because again, the sunlight, the daytime heating, really fuels this activity quite a bit. I'm just trying to keep track of things in the house as well. So, and just in case there's anybody that hasn't really gotten to know me personally, I am working at home. My family's here, so I try to play both roles. And my wife does a wonderful job, but I'm nosy. So, well, and David, the thing is, David Hatley, the thing is that it's not really sitting here so much as it's, we are starting to get southeasterly push. You can see that motion. You can see behind how we're starting to see that push through. So yeah, a lot of this has just kind of sat here, but we are starting to get that pulling southeastward. And I think that's outflow from the Dallas County storms that are pushing it southeastward here. So, and starting to even see some new development. Let me just check on this. We are seeing this development near the Midlothian area, so that will probably even bring more rain in. So this outflow is not just pushing this farther southeast, it's strengthening this activity. So again, we've talked a little bit across the past couple of months about how this activity will swell and then it weakens and then it kind of cycles one way or the other. Well, it's cycling up and moving right towards the Ennis area. So just keep in mind, we do have another round of heavy rain moving towards Ennis right now. And I know that I've heard plenty about the flooding in that area. So just definitely keep that in mind as we keep going forward. And if you're watching the radar only stream, I think the comments have slowed there. I'm sure everybody's probably tuned into this, but you can watch the radar only stream exclusively on the YouTube channel, where you're just going to see the radar. You're not going to see me disrupting everything and talking here and there and bouncing back and forth and zooming in on one thing or another. You're simply just going to see you're just going to see the radar across all 4 counties, and you can kind of track things that way. But the link to this stream, of course, is there as well, so that everybody can go back and forth. So the rain continuing here, sounds like it could be tapering off just a little bit. And so Marcia, you've got 3 inches now. So looks like you are, the rain just continues to fall there. So definite heavy rain. The question about Corsicana is clear right now. Time will tell if this complex is going to move that way. But again, if it does, the Corsicana area has been looking at some flooding issues as well, power outages, those kind of things. So I would be concerned about the flooding problems that will be possible for that area as we go forward. So definitely keep that in mind, as we go too. I want to check just check a couple of sources of information here, because I'm just not seeing any kind of updates. Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing. All right, let me go. Let me go check on something just very briefly here. All right. Well, somebody has decided that they need some. Oh, you have things to say. He has opinions as well. This is Jensen and Jensen's cup, the all-important milk cup, right? He was very unhappy, and I think I've been stuck in here for a while now, so I think he missed me. I do have an assistant, and he doesn't really help much though. I'm loving these. What are these? Shark? The shark stuff. Yeah, it looks like shark onesie right now for the fashion. So, and you're drooling on me, really? You're gonna get me dirty on air? So yeah, we'll let this guy hang out with us for a little bit, right? So, reporting live from Jensen. There you go. Yeah, so we'll continue to watch this activity as it moves on to the southeast, and it really could cause more of those flooding issues. Now, the good news is eastern Ennis was really the area where it was mostly. He is growing fast. He's getting way too big. He's taking after me. But the problem was before that it was mostly the eastern side of 45, eastern Ennis, that got most of this rain. This appears to be moving more towards the western side. So if there's any good news to be had, it's that, okay? So we could be looking at a situation where it's not as intense for the eastern side of Ennis that was getting more of this intensity. So we'll watch and see if that's going to change. Now, obviously, there's more of this to the east, so we could still get more rain in eastern Ennis. But I'm not sure if it's going to be able to hold on long enough to get into the Rice area, down to Corsicana, to Kearns, north of Kearns, and towards, I'm blanking on, the Roan area, where we had that really kind of east of Roan, where we had that concentration of very heavy rain, a lot of rain. We could see that move into that area as well. I think you're covering my mic there, dude. So we need to back this off a little bit, and we'll put this back into motion so you don't have to look through us. But this is all getting a push from those storms in Dallas County. There's an outflow boundary that's moving from those storms, moving those to the southeast. No, I don't want any, thank you. You're good. I'm set. I'll get milk after this, maybe with an Oreo or two. Not that I need an Oreo or two. But we'll watch this activity as it moves on to the southeast. So just keep in mind, and I mean, you can even see this is moving pretty dead set on Ennis right now. It's really headed that way. So that's what we're going to be watching over the next several minutes here. I'm repeating myself because there's not really much more to say other than we're watching those flooding problems that could be made worse by this heavy rain that's moving in. And just for the briefest moment, I thought we could avoid it. There's more lightning and thunder out there too. So, as I mentioned before, there have been studies, and I've posted this before. You see it on the Facebook page, and there was a retweet of it as well, that there are more lightning issues sometimes on the back end of a storm than on the front end of a storm. Why? Because people go outside as soon as the storm's gone and don't understand that lightning is possible on the back side of it. Yeah, there's just green behind you. He always gets so confused because he sees on the screen that there's something behind us, and then he looks behind to see, and it's all green. He hasn't figured out that technology yet. It's upside down, but you can't get anything that way. There you go. All right, there you go. All right, well, I think I'm going to let this kiddo start heading to bed, Lucky. So I'm going to get this guy back to Mama, and I will be back here momentarily. All right, so that achieved the goal of being able to calm him down before my wife, gets him and, tries to get him to bed. So we're good. Takes two, right? So we're continuing to watch this rain, and we're going to zoom in a little bit on this area. It looks like it is starting to subside a little bit, but we are watching this heavy rain move towards the Ennis area. We've been talking about, it's actually about to cross 287 here. We've been talking about the flooding issues we've been seeing, and as it continues to move on to the southeast and really almost due south at this point, it could be moving into some areas where flooding has been a problem, where there's been significant rain already. As I mentioned, mostly east side of Ennis at this point that have seen the flooding issues. The good news is this should be mostly on the west side of Ennis over the next several minutes. So I think we're going to be, mostly okay for the eastern side of Ennis. I think the west side will be what mostly gets the heavier rain as this goes through. And if we zoom this out, again, I want to emphasize that not only is Navarro County clear, at least for right now, you can see some lighter rain from Blooming Grove almost to Wortham there. Nothing in Hill County, nothing in Johnson County, all focused in Ellis County right now. And you can see how much lightning, and I can even see, the window is behind me, but I can see ahead of me on a filing cabinet there, the reflection of the lightning strikes. So plenty of lightning to be had with these storms, and it's nothing to shake a stick at, folks. This is a serious matter. When we talk about lightning, that can be a very serious problem. So you want to make sure to keep that in mind as we go through the next several minutes, because we will see this move southeastward and it will be dissipating. But the thing is, even if it dissipates, even if it weakens over time and we lose the intensity, we lose the heavy rain there, then we still could be looking at plenty of lightning. And as I mentioned before, that's all you have to talk about where lightning is going to possibly be, where it's going to hit. You don't know where it's going to hit or how frequently or whatever until it does. We can predict tornadoes to a degree. We can predict gusty winds. We can predict heavy rain. These different forms of extreme weather. It's really hard to predict. In fact, it's impossible to predict where lightning is going to strike. That is the one form of extreme weather I do not play with, is lightning. It's just a force of its own. One of those things we cannot play with. So definitely keep that in mind. So we will continue to watch this. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here. I know the numbers are dropping there, but over the next several minutes, just keep in mind this rain is going to continue to move through. If you are in a flood-prone area, safely take precautions if you are going to get this batch of heavier rain, especially Ennis on east. We had that very persistent rain there, and then it's not looking like this is going to last too much farther into Navarro County. The good news is it's already kind of starting to thin out a little bit. So I don't think this is going to be much of a problem for Navarro County. Maybe M House and Rice at the farthest north. I know that there was some heavier rain towards the M House area, northwest of Corsicana there. But those would be the two areas I'm mostly concerned about. From Bardwell on to M House, I think is really going to be the most of the concern area for this. But again, as it moves south, it's going to continue to thin out. We should see that begin to alleviate itself. So I will continue to monitor this, and I will bring updates as necessary as these storms hopefully finally start to wither away.